3.
Welcome to episode 59 of the Club Lorcana podcast. I'm your host, Syed, and with me always is Jeremy Bertarioni.
Hey everybody, it's me, Jeremy Bertarioni, aka Mox Jeremy, aka the Flea 76, aka Wanted in the state of Alabama, and I'm happy to be here at the podcast today.
And all my other friends,
almost didn't come.
Ryan, and then Nathan.
Heyo.
Right, nice.
And let's get started.
Let's start it. So when last our viewers saw us, we were giving our predictions for what we would play in the SSG 15 case tournament, what we would play in the SSG Invitational, and, you know, let's wrap that up with, like, let's just go around and talk about how we all did and how it felt and stuff.
Yeah, the format felt kind of stale to me. It just felt like the trifecta meta that we talked about. Amber Steel, Purple Steel, Blurple. And I said I was going to play Purple Steel. I was pretty adamant about it. And I was persuaded by the dark side to play Blurple. And my tournament didn't go so well. I played against Amber Steel twice and Turner Dogs once in the first 4 rounds. And I was 2-2. And I decided to drop to focus on the Invitational, which was the next day. So I went back to the Airbnb.
I played Blurple, which is what I said I was going to play. Went pretty well for me. I pretty much played a bunch of purple mid-range mirrors all day. Ended up in the top 8, where I lost to Tiago, who went on to win the tournament. You know, we take those top 8s. Felt pretty good. I really love the mid-range purple battles that happen. I mean, it's just like how
Great job.
Oh, thanks.
You love mid-range.
We got to do better.
It's a classic thing you do.
Oh, my God, please. Come on.
Okay, so anyway, let's keep it moving. Nathan, what'd you play? How'd you do? I already know the answer.
Wow.
So
I pivoted, and mostly to do with our lack of Dumbo supply. So fell on that sword, and I played Amber Steel. But once we sat down for the day, saw the distribution of decks, I actually think I was the most favored for the day because of the high density of Blurple. So my day actually went really good. I think that I should have topped 8. There were some micro decisions that could have gone one way or the other, and then towards some of the end of some games, trying to close those out against specifically 2 Blurple players, I got to 17 and 19 lore, where if those go my way, I probably make top 8. So I think this tournament really showed me that I still got to work on the aggro chops. I want to make sure that I'm playing all of those lines. People say there's no decisions in aggressive decks, but those few decisions can win and lose you games. So I'm hoping to continue to improve on that. And I think I can top 8.
And Ryan, how do you feel like you did? Just be honest.
I will say that I also pivoted to blue-purple the night before. I think I was really, really close between purple steel and blue-purple. And I think what it came down to ultimately was playing which one I was more comfortable on. I had probably 50, 75 more games into blue-purple than I did into purple steel. So because it was really, really close, I ended up going with blue-purple. I think the tournament actually went really well. We played the exact same 60. And you top 8'd with it. I felt like the deck was running really, really well. I hit some rough matchups. I played some Amber Steel, lost to a Sherna Dog, lost to a Blue Purple Mirror. But I feel like it was a pretty good day overall. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure because I was the only one not in the Invitational, so would have liked to have qualified. But I think I only would have changed maybe 2 or 3 cards from that Blurple list after playing that tournament. But I do think that Purple Steel would have been the better play for that room.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that Blurple deck, super solid deck. I mean, we worked really hard on it, and it honestly just comes down to what you play against, right? And who won the die roll, right? So I lost the die roll against Amber Steel once and won the die roll the other time, and I felt like it was up to my opponent whether I lost or won,
Right.
And not really up to me on both when they lost the die roll and won the die roll. If they made some mistakes, I won, and if they didn't make any mistakes, no, if they made mistakes, I won. If they made less mistakes, they won. Yeah, and so it felt I didn't want to give them the ball in their court. I think that's what Purple Steel would have stopped.
Interesting stuff. I felt good with Blurple, but all right, how do we want to move the podcast forward? Do we want to talk about Infinity next, or do we want to talk about Core and what's going to happen in Core?
All right, we'll briefly summarize Infinity. So for Infinity, I top 8'd with the deck that I talked about last time, Princess Diaries. I honestly felt like if I had gotten past that first round, I would have won the tournament pretty easily. I just had this one moment where I drew triple Whole New World, and Jeremy experienced the same thing on camera.
The first round in top 8, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that deck was really good for me. I started the day 3-0, and, felt pretty good. And then just in a row. Well, the first thing that happened is I slammed into a terrible matchup. I played against Blue Steel Bodyguards by Ezekiel from Inkcasters. Oof. And I just was in a situation where I had turn 2 Aerial. Now my hand's full of removal spells. I look across the table. All of his guys have Ward. They all just have Ward.
Yeah.
He has 2 Alices in play. They just have Ward. None of my stuff works. Then he's like, okay, Chen Po. So now he's got 2 Alices, a Chen Po. It's all got Ward. I look at my hand. It's all just removal spells and a Whole New World. But I'm behind on lore. So by a Whole New World, that's worse. So I lose. I can't beat that guy.
Yeah.
Then I play against another Amber Steel deck. And I kind of just had the bad end of my hand didn't do the right thing. I won one game, and when you win against Amber Steel with the Princess Diaries, it looks like, oh my God. I had 10 guys, you have no guys, and he's just like, what happened? And I'm like, right. Because the deck is so good, you went 0-2 and then made a sweet brew with no pit crew. So what are you going to do but play what Zam puts in front of you was my thought process when I got home that night, because you were against Princess Diaries. And I was like, well, I'm switching. That's why I switched.
Yeah.
I came up with a rhyme to appease everybody who was mad that I switched.
Oh, who was mad you were switched?
Right. I mean, that's a great question. And so the next round I played against Zach Bivens, and this is my second camera match against Zach Bivens. And I swear, every time my deck's just how many Inkables are you playing? I'm like, I don't know, 10. It's like, what about they're all in your hand?
All of them.
It's like, oh, well, novel, but so that's, but, Zach's a great player, so it's fine to lose to him on camera, I guess. And I got to have this sweet moment where, I actually had a pretty good, I don't know, we should definitely watch that match again. I had a pretty good line where I had the queen. Anyway, he peated. Then the next turn he played 2 guys and used Pete to sing strength to kill my queen. And I draw my third Whole New World. Mm-hmm. I put my head like this and then pass. And then he's just got more pressure, and I just get to be like, you win, and just put it all in front of him on camera. And he's like, oh, yep, I guess I win. And I'm like, right, because it was just 3 Whole New Worlds.
It was turn 4. And
it was my 4th ink. Yeah, it was turn 4. Just 3 Whole New Worlds, nothing else, no creatures or anything, characters. So yeah, that was my tournament. I feel like I played great this weekend. And I'm one of the first to say I think I beefed that one.
Yeah, no,
days.
I got to watch you quite a bit, and I was fairly impressed. You played really well. You practiced a lot, and it really showed.
Mm-hmm. I was playing good this weekend, and I think that the wheels just kind of fell off. It just wasn't really my day. I started 3-0. I think I knew what was going on with the deck, and it just
I was surprised the bodyguard person made it that far. And we just ended up. I didn't get paired against him. But
lucky, that guy is unbeatable.
I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of Sisus in this room. There's a lot of things that, a lot of be prepared. I ended up playing against Jonathan Williams for my winning in for top 8, and of course was playing blue-red, and I was like, oh my God, I guess I lose.
No, your deck is actually not that bad against blue-red.
Exactly, and that was the surprising part. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get 20 lore and try to mill them out at the same time. And then he stabilized at 19 lore. And I was like, am I going to get there? And then I milled him out.
Nice.
That was the most satisfying feeling. It also feels bad as a blue-red player. I've been milled out, but that's awesome.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
And then we went on to the second game, and I was like, I'm definitely going to lose this one. We're probably going to go to a game 3. And I was milling him out, and I was like right there to mill him out, but then I just got to 20 lore. So I was like, oh, one or the other plan is going to work. You just have to be aware of the plan.
The plan is to mill them out.
Yeah. And what's that card that both player can discard their card? And
Beyond the Horizon.
Beyond the Horizon really goes along with that plan. Mm-hmm. So having just one copy just really boosted it. So one thing I'm definitely gonna do in the description below, I'm gonna put the deck list. So I'll put the Blurple deck list first. I'll put the Princess Diaries deck second, and then I guess I'll put the Purple Steel deck that we played this weekend third.
I played against Red Blue. It's always fun when you have enough singers to be like, all right, whole new world, and then you're like, all right, you actually get rid of those and draw 3. And they're like, oh.
I did that against Kendall.
Nice.
We sang Whole New World, and then I was like, okay, now discard your hand. And he's like, what?
Just got these.
I just got these cards.
Ryan pulled the old fly home a day early, freaking us all out.
Which I think was
That
the
was-
move.
that was
Sweet. If you don't know what an Irish exit is, it's when you leave and don't tell anybody.
But you told him.
I did have to tell one person, so in fear for my safety. So I basically bought a plane ticket, waited for the invitational to start on Sunday, and as soon as they went to the players' meeting, I just left the building, never to return, and sent them lunch.
And got us lunch, which
The
kept
lunch was
them
such
guessing.
a nice touch.
It was a
my
psyop
God.
for me because I was like, "Hey Ryan, are you gonna bring us lunch?" You know, thinking that might happen. He was like, "Yeah, sure, it'll be there." My ETA is this. He didn't say my ETA. He said the ETA is this, and I was like, "Okay, great." And so when the
I'm
food
like
got
walking
there,
my dog at home in Atlanta.
Oh my God.
when the food got there and he didn't, I was like, "Where's Ryan?" And then even at the end of the day, it's like 9. We're about to drive overnight to go back to Atlanta. I'm like, "So do we need to pick up Ryan from somewhere?" And they were like, "No, he's
He's
home."
been drinking all day at the beach.
I went to Domino's and I was like, oh, let me hit up Ryan, and Ryan's like, I'm drinking. And I'm like, what?
Where are you drinking?
Drowning my sorrows, but I was just on a plane going home.
No, that was the best.
Nathan, you also played in the Wham Invitational. How'd it go for you?
So I'm not in love with Blue Steel.
I feel like there's betrayal from one person, not the Blue Steel side.
Yeah, no, I definitely did not. So I didn't play it when we originally played Blue Steel down at SSG, where you guys all did incredible. Then I played it at Charlie's and got like cooked by Kiwi, and so I was like, I hate this deck. And honestly, I didn't have the reps, and I put like 3 or 4 hours into playing some tests, and I was winning games. I didn't feel like great with it. Honestly, put so many hours into testing for Core Constructed. I probably should have practiced more on Blue Steel. So it just didn't feel like it felt like I had games where like the play was getting like close and better, and sometimes I did the thing and then I won those games. But then like most of my games, it just like didn't come together. But I take responsibility that like Blue Steel's a punishing deck, and I got punished for especially Mulligans. Zane and I like walked through Mulligans after round, I think, 1, where I should have won that. I was super favored into my first matchup, so it's like my day could have started completely great. And I set you up for failure that next round.
How do you mean?
Well, when you're playing with friends or a team, we're not a team, but if I'm on a favored matchup that's good against you, so if I don't beat them and then you pair into them the next round, that's sort of my fault, right?
Well, I like to think about it as like messing up the timeline, right?
Low key.
So basically when I'm watching someone, I feel the same way. Basically what I do is I go watch someone, and there's like a point of no return. When they make a couple of different types of mistakes, it sends them down this path where there's no point of there's no return, and you've like messed up any way of getting back into the game. And so when you do that in a matchup, then it ruins the timeline for the tournament, right? Let's say us 4 are trying to obtain a certain result. Us crossing paths against each other, especially for the first tournament, was really important, because if I had played against Ryan, I would want him to get qualified. I would have been like, Ryan, I want you to make it. This tournament doesn't mean that much. I'll give it to you. And so in this instance, it like puts us in a position where when we're playing against each other, we're doing that well. And so round 1, you played against Hector, who's playing blue-red, and you're playing blue-steel, and your version of blue-steel is super teched out to beat him. It's like as close to like it's like a 80-20 matchup. That's how insanely favored you are. So as long as you execute on the normal game plan, then in a set of 3 that you're likely to win. So in this timeline, what ended up happening was you didn't mulligan correctly or play it correctly. So Hector ended up beating you and then ended up playing against Jeremy. And now Jeremy's playing Amber Steel, and we're like, that's supposed to be our bad matchup. But instead, Jeremy flipped the script and won.
Right. And
Good data.
I was just thinking like what has to happen to win? And I was like, well, obviously they have Be Prepared and Sisu in their deck. There's no getting around that I'm trying to play a bunch of yellow creatures and they have Be Prepared and Sisu in their deck. You just can't argue around that. But, there's like a mill plan that's very live because, Hiram Flaversham's back, Popsicle's back, Tamatoa. They're drawing a lot of cards. A lot of our removal spells line up really well, right? Sisu and 6-mana Tamatoa can't really kill us because we've just been sitting there with the removal spells clogging up our hands.
By design.
And Zan planned that even. So it's like easy to take them off of clock, right? They're not going to have a good clock on you. So the mill plan is very live. And then, Pete is a card that's great against Be Prepared. A Whole New World is a card that if you're trying to play it against Be Prepared stuck in their hand is the way that you can think about Be Prepared. It's not inkable. It's not going anywhere. So if you can A Whole New World at the time where you like think that their hand. So I A Whole New World at Hector, and he discarded Be Prepared, Sisu, or the 3 cards in his hand.
Bam.
I know. I was like,
Pretty good.
nice.
So good.
Which is like about what I wanted. I even held off a turn. I was like, I'm not going to wheel right now. And then I wheeled, and it was all his rats. So I was like, yes, let's go. All he did was ink pass. Or maybe even missing can pass. So there are bad components to the matchup. Again, not sugarcoating those big red cards, but you got a little bit of bob and weave in you when you're playing that matchup. I'm talking about Princess Diaries versus basically blue-red.
You both were able to take it down, so that says something to like it might not be as bad as it used to be.
Oh, I don't even think it's bad. I think it's actually favored.
I think that it's getting there.
Yeah. Basically, I played 1 copy of Fine and Platinum, right? And I think that if you've timed the Fine and Platinum correctly, then the rats don't work perfectly, which means rat meaning Sisu or baby Sisu, like being able to just clear your board effectively. So you can time your Smees and your Peets and even your big aerial correctly. And so the big aerial is very interesting. It didn't really see that much play in like the core constructed version, but in this version, it lines up really, really well, right? If you go Aurora on turn 1, turn 2 you go aerial, turn 3 you shift the aerial. You're just in like this crazy good spot.
You never run out of removal.
It's insane. And let the Storm Rage on plus an aerial trigger, what it does is it deals 5, and that is a sweet spot, right? It can kill baby Tamatoa. And then now you look at a Long Game Zeus plus aerial trigger, that's 8. That takes out a big Tamatoa. And so what you start to realize is if you can do everything, like Blue-Red has always been operating on the fact that it can do everything a turn faster than everybody else, right? Popsicle, Sail, Hiram. But now we can do the same thing. Aurora, aerial, right? And so what we're thinking is like, okay, if we're operating on Blue-Red axis with Amber Steel, that's insane, right? Like we can Whole New World them out before they have anything relevant, right? If I play an aerial on turn 2, I'm threatening it next turn, and they haven't even had time to play a Fishbone Quill.
The thing that I'd love to see out of your deck, and I think it's maybe the Smees. Smee is so good, but we're just not like necessarily trying to pressure them as much as control the game. Just something to like smooth it all out. Loot Mulan is something that I was like, dude, I think Loot Mulan would like solve all my problems.
I did test Loot Mulan, so I can explain Loot Mulan. So Loot Mulan is a really cool card, but it's a really bad card.
Yeah.
So you basically. The problem with it is that it is such a bad card in a much more powerful format that even though it gives you a nice effect, it's not enough to replace even just drawing a card, right? Like you rather have a card that just says, just draw me a card. And so oftentimes you're like, okay, I don't want that card. So a card that you could play in replace of that, if we got to the point at which the first thing you have to figure out is when do I need to come up with an alternate plan to Whole New World? And then once you are like, okay, here's a matchup where I need to do this every single time, then you can be like, okay, I need to introduce a card like Namari, which does the same thing, but does it better and it's on a better body. Then we could potentially incorporate it. But when we're going into a tournament where a meta is not there, the whole point of the deck is when you look at the deck, every single card in there synergizes with each other and is at a certain power level, right? Your worst card, I would say, is Queen, but you have the Shift Queen, but you also have the 3-drop Queen, and all of a sudden, the 5-drop Shift Queen that can now shift for 1 with Aurora looks like an insane card, where it's, even though it's dropped off in a little bit of a power level, but we don't have that for Mulan, right? We do have a 3-cost shift, but that's adding to like the randomness of the deck. We don't need to like play random songs off the top of the deck. We want to have a sure bet, right? And that's why the new Queen is so good, because the new Queen says at the beginning of your turn, you may discard a princess or a queen to grab a card from your bin, and that can be a Pete, that can be an Ariel. So the point of this version of the deck is, let's try to do the same thing over and over again without lowering the power level. And the reason why Smee needed to come back is because of Sisu, right? Sisu, you can't have everything be below a certain power level. And at first I was like, oh, let me play Queen's Sensor Core or all these other different types of cards.
Just weak cards.
And they just didn't get the job done. Like, let's say if I want to beat just the mirror match, I would replace the Smee with Vanessa, right? Ursula.
Sure.
Because I can sing more songs more frequently. But what did that do? It made my matchup against Blue Red 1,000 times worse.
1,000 times worse.
And my clock is way weaker. And my Rapunzel is also way weaker. So it's like a very fragile puzzle that you're trying to sculpt against whatever you believe is the current metagame.
Completely.
And so I don't know how the metagame is going to develop, but when I see the metagame develop, let's say another tournament happens without me, then I'm going to be like, okay, how am I going to adjust this deck to beat this? Or is it better for me to abandon this strategy and move on?
Speaking of the metagame, there's no Infinity tournaments for the foreseeable future, and I think that we should move on to core constructing.
And we're moving on to CCS. So what are we going to be playing at CCS? And like, what do we think the metagame is going to be? So we'll start off with what we think the metagame is. Jeremy, what do you think the metagame is?
I think there's going to be a whole lot of Blurple. I mean, because there was a big sea of Blurple that formed the top 8s of pretty much every major tournament. There was a big one in Anaheim, Philadelphia, and Miami. And Blurple was an ocean of the top 8. For that reason, I think that people are configuring their purple steel decks a little less in the direction of beating Amber Steel and a little more in the direction of beating these purple mid-range mirrors, which kind of makes them favored. You know what I mean? It's like easy to beat Blurple when you're out drawing them. And if you're not playing things like Calhoun, you know, all these cards that are really good against Amber Steel, it's easy to outdraw Blurple. So a purple steel deck optimized for drawing cards, to me, makes a lot of sense moving into this weekend. As of right now, it's what I'm playing. When you look at the metagame, you sort of kind of still have the trifecta, but Amber Steel's fallen way out of favor, which might pave the way for it to come back. But you still have a lot of like purple steel, so Amber Steel's like kind of a hard sell for me right now. And then you have some fringe decks that I think are all pretty bad. You know, blue-green keeps making an appearance in a lot of people's decks. I've had a modicum of success with blue-green, like 83% win rate over the course of like 50 games or whatever with blue-green this week. But I think I'm not going to play it because it is just this week. And your matchup against purple steel is not good. I think you actually have a really, really strong matchup against aggressive decks, including not yellow-green because they Ursula you. But yellow steel is like pretty much a buy. I think I focus tested that a little bit with Nathan.
That was awful. You always had Under the Sea, so that I was like, okay, if you always have it, you always got it.
He always had it. I birded those games. He always had it.
It was funny.
So what if your strategy for this weekend was Saturday you play the safe deck and Sunday you play the test deck?
The test deck being purple steel?
No,
Green blue.
Oh, green and blue.
blue.
Oh, that could be fun. Maybe I will do that. I just really don't think my purple steel matchup is great with green blue. That being said, I win it a lot, but I don't think it's good.
I just think that, like, you know, there's like a level of, you have a finite amount of opportunity to do well at tournaments, and then there's also, you want to be forward thinking and, you know, you want to innovate, right? And so I'm all about innovation, but I need to have a certain level of like validation, and it's hard to get validation on a green blue deck that doesn't draw any extra cards.
What do you mean? Clarabelle's a draw 4 sometimes.
I know sometimes I watch your games, you're like, let me play this 5/5 for 4 and play another 5/5 for 4, and my hand is all Under the Seas, and my opponent has no 2-cost guys. And I'm like, okay, so how's he gonna make this play? And he's like, ink this T-Bill, go. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's the move.
you're not using, but I do think that there is sometimes room for those, but those strategies. But the metagame has to be more like condensed, right? Imagine if Amber Steel was the number one deck, and you knew it was going to be 35% of the next tournament. A
That's
call
what we
like
thought.
that could just win you the tournament. And so, but right now you're telling me Amber Steel is not that.
My prediction is that Amber Steel is not going to show up in record numbers. That being said, there's a lot of people, and this is always true about Amber Steel, there's a lot of people that just own the Amber Steel cards. And they aren't going to, I mean, you know, they're going to pay all that for
But this is an
Dumbos.
invitational. 25, this is not invitational. It's a 25K
Qualifier.
Qualifier for a 50K. So people here are coming for serious business.
like
It's also a
400
bigger
players.
field, right? This
Yeah.
is 400 or 500 players by the time we kick off on Saturday. Do we think the card availability discussion comes back up, right? Because we talked about card availability being a reason that Amber Steel was getting to be a bigger and bigger chunk of the pie, and ended up not being a big chunk of the pie at SSG.
It was the third most played deck.
It was the third most played deck, but it was pretty far behind the two purple decks, if I remember correctly. One part of that may have been that those, half of those 128 players were invitational players. So if anybody had access to the purple cards, it was probably those people. These 500 aren't necessarily those 60.
Yeah, there's still enough of a percentage. I don't remember the exact percentage. I thought it was 17%, which is still a very high number.
High number.
Amber Steel should have still been able to get in record numbers into that top 16, if not top 8. That's what I think should have happened. But did it happen? And did I play against some of those Amber Steel players? Yes. And did I watch them play afterwards? Yes. And I just did not feel like the level of play was there for that deck to make it, even though it had a favorable situation.
There's an interesting selection bias going on in Lorcana right now where, like, Blue Steel is the kind of deck that, like, absolute sickos at trading card games want to play. They want to play Second Star to the Right and Finders Keepers. You know what I mean?
Blue Steel?
I'm sorry, Blue Purple.
Blue Purple, yes.
Blue Purple is the type of deck that, like, just sickos want to play. You know what I mean? And Amber Steel is the deck where, like, the really good trading card game players are like, I just want to play the genie. You know what I mean? And so you have this moment where it's like the Blurple decks are doing really good and the Amber Steel decks are doing really bad. And it might just be because every player whose name you know played Blurple this weekend.
Okay, I need to talk about this whole stigma. Okay, aggro decks get a bad rap, a huge bad rap. All right, number one is they are actually the most punishing decks. If you make one mistake with them, there's no room for coming back. You just threw your entire game away. So you have to make all the correct decisions. It's a different skill set than Blurple. But Blurple like makes it look so fancy.
Yeah.
And that it makes people look like these smart people.
That's what I'm saying.
Then they play a
And I-
genie.
So when you're playing Amber Steel, you have fewer decisions, but each of those decisions become more and more important.
Exactly. And yeah, go ahead.
You also have to think about how it feels to lose with every deck. If you lose with Blurple, you were always just this close. If they hadn't have, but then they did. But if they hadn't have, is like how you feel with Blurple. When you lose with Amber Steel, you're like, I got 6 lore and they killed all my guys, and it's like that doesn't feel good at all. So it takes like a kind of like a more mental fortitude to play Amber Steel in a tournament. If because you could spend all day losing with Blurple and feel like you're a god at trading cards.
I know, but there's the upside that people don't realize, which is like you played Amber Steel, you won on turn 2 in both games, and then you went to go get lunch, you went to the mall.
You do have a lot more time with an aggressive deck. That is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm just simply saying why I think Amber Steel is seeing reduced numbers. I don't necessarily even think that it's not a well-positioned deck. I just think the things I'm saying, blue purple attracts card game players, frankly, and this is a card game, and Amber Steel feels worse to lose with.
Yeah. Every person in the world, I feel like, is saying like Amber Steel is dead, and my prediction is I think Amber Steel has a good shot at potentially winning this tournament.
I think Amber Steel's not a bad choice for this tournament.
That is my hope. That's I'm gonna run it back and try to go with Amber Steel. I've been practicing a lot more. I'm 11-1, and every single thing was super tight. All those sets, and I guess that's like 20 to 30 games. I'm gonna get more practice in, and there's just those micro decisions. Mostly, how do you finish the game? And also Mulligan. Strength of the Raging Fire, I'm starting to keep in every single Mulligan, and then I basically win every game I have it. So
All you need.
if I play a lady and then I sing, and then I'm like, okay, I killed whatever your thing was.
Same 60? You got some new stuff in there.
I removed Desperate Plan.
Yeah, that card's bad.
It's like fine.
It's hard to make it work.
Yeah. It's always going to draw me 2 docs, so.
Hilarious.
What else do we have? Well, and speaking of card availability, how much the invisible hand of the free market has struck again. Ryan, what's your reaction? You're our financial guy to Dumbo licking the bushes of $100.
Dumbo is dumb, bro, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is up to in the 75 range, I think, right now. The problem is, I think when this second wave comes in, I think it's going to change everything. The second wave of cards, because of shipping getting held up, it's going to change that dynamic. Do we think it sticks at 75? It can't, right? When more supply comes in, it's going to drop.
But by how much? Beast held at 50, and a lot of them can
True.
hold it at least 50.
True. And I think the big thing is when DLCs start back up. So when we have Bologna and Milwaukee, that's when people really need cards. 2,000 people need cards, right? Right now, 500 people need cards.
I think it should be the first $100 card.
I agree. To the moon.
Yeah, to the moon. I mean,
Until somebody proves that purple isn't on top of the meta, it's going to be a $100 card. At some point.
okay, the tournament that we went to, how much of the top 8 had purple in it?
100%.
Yeah, but 7 out of 8 or 6 out of 8 decks had Dumbro.
One
in
of them
it.
didn't have Dumbos, yeah, because he couldn't find them.
Yep, but would have played it.
Would have played it.
Would have played it.
For more finance takes, follow ATL Ryan Walked on Twitter. And as long as you're clicking on things, guys, the easiest way to support us is to click that like and subscribe button. We have noticed that a lot of you are watching every week and are not subscribed, and it's the easiest way to help us make this podcast better for you. So go ahead, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and then follow Ryan on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely an avid Dumbo guy. I'm deep into Dumbos now, that's for sure. I've got my playset of Enchanted Dumbos, so no one's a bigger Dumbo guy than I am right now.
Dumbro.
Nathan?
About Dumbo?
Nope. Nathan, what's next?
Well, we said what decks we're playing. What deck?
I mean, Purple Steel is number 1 for me. Number 2 is probably Amber Steel. And Blurple is out just because I want one choice is based off of what the meta is going to be. I would say, on like Monday after the tournament, I think people were on about Blurple. On Tuesday, they were starting to become Blurple and Purple Steel. And then on Wednesday, they became Purple Steel.
Yep.
So is it going to flip back to today, which today is Thursday? It hasn't flipped back. I feel like people are all on Purple Steel. So that makes me think like, okay, if people were on it like Blurple like on Monday, it was like Monday today, I would be thinking I'm going to play Amber Steel. But now I am thinking I should just play Purple Steel and I should rely on my skill to outskill them in the mirror match and build a version that's good against Blurple and try to maintain against Amber Steel.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I don't think we can go too far away from being good against Amber still because it's gonna be there. I think it's more like the deck that we're gonna take to SSG, because if we swing too far towards the blue purple matchup, we're gonna end up giving up too much equity.
That's where I hope people are gonna go towards that, and then I can swoop in.
Whoever gets the better matchups for the deck they end up playing is gonna be in the best spot.
How many rounds is this tournament? 400 or 500 players? Like, what will that look like?
I feel like it's gonna be. I'm not sure, but in the past they did like 7 rounds.
Yeah, 7 + 3 or something.
And then
Do it
2
the
or
next day.
3. Yeah.
Hmm.
I feel like it's gonna be 9 rounds, but it can't be 100%.
I think 9 rounds is likely, 7 on day 1, and then 2 the next day. It's like a formula that's worked. I don't think they would change it, and I don't think we're gonna hit the 600 player threshold that it takes to bring it into 10 rounds or whatever. It might be more than that.
So the meta that we think it's going to be is, I think Purple Steel is going to be the most played deck, and then I think people care too much about winning. Right? It won both of the core constructed tournaments. So regardless of anything, like even if Blurple had 4 copies, and Purple Steel had 2 copies. Purple Steel winning against those Blurple decks is what allows it to come out on top. And so, a red purple list was one of the random lists that made top 8 in SSG, and that was a really interesting take. But once you saw it against Blurple, you realized that you can't play that deck. It's basically a purple steel deck because it has like Sisu and being able to deal with small characters, but it has a way worse matchup because you don't have Doc and that draw engine. And so I think that this is just going to continue to push Purple Steel as the top deck because it's the only deck that has a chance to be rock, paper, and scissors.
Right.
So that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. And Ryan, you're the last on the list. What are you playing at the CCS tournament?
I think it's pretty similar to what Zan stated. I think Purple Steel would be my leading candidate, but Blue Purple is still in the back of my mind. I think if you have a Blue Purple that you feel really, really good about beating Purple Steel up, you're in a really good spot. If we're saying everybody is going to switch to Purple Steel because it won the 2 tournaments, on Tuesday of last week, we thought our Blurple was a buy into Purple Steel. Not a buy. It's all about the evasive battle, right? We thought we had a really good matchup into Purple Steel. So I think Blurple's live.
Yeah. The big thing that changed, obviously, is that the Purple Steel decks that rose to the top were the ones that prioritize what Zan and I call the vomit. And that's the sort of mid-game, here's 5 cards all at once, sort of gives me a burst of lore that allows me to take over the game. It's just kind of hard to deal with all at once as a Blurple player, and you don't always have 2 or 3 turns to clean everything up.
So the other thing I want to talk about in terms of all of these decks is that there are different versions of each deck. That's what we're not really touching on. Amber Steel, for the most part, the core of the deck is exactly the same. So you can't really unless you're not playing
Tiana,
and then I don't even think you're in the conversation. That's out of the conversation deck, in my opinion. So I think there's Tiana, Amber Steel, and then that one is just gonna be one of the best decks. And then Blurple, the thing about that deck is that the core of the deck is pretty much irreplaceable, right? You have to have some number of 1-drops. You have to have all of the ramp. And then basically now we're just starting to figure out that all of the 4-drops are pretty much all the same. And all of the 5-drops are the same. All the 7 and 8-drops are the same. And you're starting to realize, 56 out of the 60 cards are pretty much the same.
there are 50, or I would say there are about 54 cards in Blurple that you cannot show up without. You're saying the Amber Steel players don't even, show up at the tournament if you're not bringing the Diablo of Combat Tiana. How much of this metagame do you think is locked in cores and then flex slots?
I mean, it's not very much for those 2 decks. But when you look at Purple Steel, you can almost have a 30 card difference because they have the most amount of cards available to them to switch out. Right? I've played against a Scar version, I've played against a Doc version, I've played against a Yzma version, I've played against the Illusion version.
Yeah.
Right? There's more Purple Steel variants than there are other decks. So I think that the way that we're looking at it is a little bit very surface level, and we should acknowledge that there is a battle for the top Purple Steel slot, and that's what I think that this tournament is actually about. Who's Purple Steel deck? Which Purple Steel deck deals with everything? All the other Purple Steels? And I what I imagine? And there's this Jet Li movie, and Jet Li's just fighting all clones of himself. Yeah. And I'm that's basically what this is.
I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So you got to build a Purple Steel because you have enough variety in it that you can beat the Purple Steel mirrors, still beat up on the Blue Purples, and you got to still be the Diablo of Combat. And
that person is most likely going to be versatile enough to win the tournament regardless of what their pairings are. And so I would rather be that person than the person that's hoping and praying that I don't play against Amber Steel, or I don't play against Blurple, or I don't play against something. And I don't think any of the other colors have enough variety to do it.
You could build blue-green 1,000 different ways.
Yeah, all of them just do the same. What'd you do on turn 4? 5-5, turn 5, 5-5, turn 6,
Well,
5-5.
hold on, that's
turn
my
6.
version. That's Blue Green High Five.
Oh, the other one. What does it do?
They're doing other things. They're trying to, sing "Stop Chaos in Its Tracks" and "You're Welcome,"
Okay.
and they're not necessarily playing the full amount of heads held high.
Okay.
I'm 4-4 heads held high at Under the Sea.
Like your record is 4-4.
Nope. My record's really good with the blue green deck. I don't think that's indicative of very much, but it is extremely high.
No, dude, I totally believe that blue green could be a real thing.
And I think the way to build it is high five. I think if you do keep slamming 5-5s, nope, we're not doing that.
I'll give you that.
Bam. Come on.
Oh yeah.
What on earth is wrong with you guys? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the landscape of SSG. Because when we got there, it was Paradise, and then toward the middle of the tournament, it was Paradise Lost.
Oh no. We
Lost
don't have to
Paradise.
talk about this.
First of all, there was a group of people in there that would make the Labubu Buddha happy because there were plenty of these little guys hanging out at SSG.
Yep.
Shout out to how you know you're walking into a good store with good people.
I keep forgetting mine.
The problem that we had was about 3 hours into day one, the tournament still hadn't started because the Ravensburger Play Hub crashed and burned in its first big field test since the stress test. Any thoughts on that, Zan?
No.
Okay, and I'd love to hear from the.
Was it an enjoyable experience?
It was a very well. I had a great experience. I left by round 4.
This man was in
End
the
of
hot
4.
tub by 2:00 in the afternoon. Yeah.
For you guys that are a little newer at card games, you didn't play in GP Hindenburg in 2012, Charlotte or whatever. So what was this like for you? 3 hours past start time, tournament still hasn't started. What's going through your minds?
I just thought we had already gone through this, right? When we showed up to Atlanta and we had issues, we've already done this, but now we're gonna do it again. Can we, 3 hours in, I'm like, can we go back to Melee so we can get the tournament started now?
Interesting that now we clamor for Melee. It turns out that letting something go through its growing pains might be the move. Nathan, what do you think?
It just seems like wild to me. So I do software, and this just feels like the number one thing is just make it work. And this is not a lot of traffic. Like 1,000 people, you got to get into the millions and hundreds of millions of typed requests and stuff. Like this should be something that we're loading. It's basically like we're loading an Excel sheet, and all right, this is who you're paired with. All right, the next round it pairs, and it takes 2 seconds because it's less than 1,000 records. So, and I don't want to be mean to the developers behind the scenes, because I get it that everybody's trying to figure things out. They're probably selling lots of things, and they did a stress test. But they need to respond well, and Kendall did a tweet or did a Discord post, and they did not like what he said and how they responded, which eventually I think they deleted it.
It
But,
basically said, "Whoa, buddy, we got this."
we did a stress test, and I'm like, yeah, but this is 1/6 of your stress test, and it broke.
Broke bad. There was a 2-hour delay between the final round and top 8. There was also a 40-minute delay between the final round being paired and us being able to play in it for some reason. Turned out that 2-hour delay was so that the judges could do napkin math to determine who made it to the top 8 on tiebreakers.
Because apparently the math was not in the correct order.
I saw that piece of paper. It didn't look great.
Yeah, some people believe that they didn't make it to top 8 because of the math.
Yeah, because there were breakers. It came down to breakers. I'm hopeful that it will be good by the time we get to the DLCs. But we all know I'm the ever optimist.
Yeah.
My hope is that they'll be able to, I don't know, so hopefully some of these tournaments are at least as big as SSG was, so they can get a few more tests in before the really large scale one, because the larger scale the tournament, the worse it's going to be in terms of delays, people waiting, complaints. A month and a half time is not that long in software development, but hopefully they at least got the data they needed. I know that SSG was on with the developers trying to resolve their issues and whatnot. So fingers crossed. I'm hopeful they might use it in China.
Oh no, don't say that.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Please, no.
You heard it here first, folks. If you're going to DLC Bologna, bring your sleeping bags because you might stay overnight.
Yeah, that. The one thing I want to say about it is Well, not one thing, but the first thing I want to say about it is I didn't feel like it was SSG's fault at all. I was quite surprised at how hard they were trying to stay positive in such a long, long.
Yeah, kudos to them. For
Yeah, and they
sure.
were and they,
Yeah.
they were
have
even
no
doing
fault.
work to
Yeah.
try to transition the whole tournament to melee, which is not easy.
So I was impressed with them, and a lot of their staff was willing to stay like double overtime to make sure the tournament finished. I didn't have to experience it that much because I left, but I was watching every round. I was tuned into the coverage, and I took a nap, and I was playtesting and had coverage on the whole time, following all of you guys, how you guys are doing, and it was I mean, I was just happy that I had chosen to come back, because if I had chosen like majority of tournaments, I choose to play them out just for experience and learning. But we had a tournament the next day, and number two was I had just flown back from Austria, and I still was under jet lag, right? And I was trying to figure out, okay, I need to rest this much. I need to figure out this deck this much. If I'm not gonna win this tournament, I gotta just like bite it. And when I saw how long you guys ended up going, I was like, this is sabotaging other people's tournaments, especially people who got qualified for the next day. Because Kendall and I got to play against each other, and he was like, I got to my hotel at 3 a.m.
Yep.
and I didn't have time to put anything together, and I'm not playing great, and blah blah blah. And I felt like that's not the conditions I want to play him under. I want him to feel like he had more than enough time to prepare for this tournament, or at least a good night's sleep. And so,
Kendall doesn't sleep, first of all.
that's a different story. But everybody deserves the opportunity to
opportunity
sleep.
to get
Yeah.
And so, if he doesn't choose to take it, that's on him. But
He was
in
streaming
this,
vibes at 4 a.m. Yeah.
in this instance, he didn't get the choice, and I did not like that. I did not feel that was great. I feel like a great time to stress test these things is honestly during set championships. I think that like get as many set championships as you want, because it's low enough stakes. It's like low enough rounds that if things were to go wrong, they can fix it. But in this instance, they could have just been like, okay, tournament reset. And what were people supposed to do? It just put everything in a really bad spot. And I just wish that I just wish they weren't forced to do it there.
I kind of feel like that is what okay, so the top cut, the machine spits out everybody's points, but not their tiebreakers. I don't know what to do. I think maybe you just say that's top 16 and then they play it out, or you play it out from where there's a clean cut, you like design a bracket around it. I feel like doing the math the way they did, there was it's like a weird call to have to make. I ended up making it on their math breakers. So I'm like the first guy that gets to say, like, I don't think you guys should be doing hand math breakers. I think maybe make it a top 16 and then they all play it out. That way everyone who's XM11 gets in clean.
So that's an interesting take, because the people there, I think the judge came up and said, we're going to do top 16 specifically because he said he didn't want anybody to not make it on breakers. But then people were like flipping tables and be like, you can't change the tournament like right on the last round.
Yeah.
And then I ended up playing in for top 16. I got like 18.
And then I would have been mad because I left the tournament.
Yeah, and you could have qualified for top 16. So it becomes like, it's a sticky situation when you're in that. Like, you're going to be punished one way or the other in terms of like, some people are not going to be happy.
That's a good point. I think that from now on, if you're doing it on Play Up, then you should do top 16.
If we're being super real and not fake, that didn't have to happen that way, because they could have switched to melee at the beginning of the day when they, like an hour into it not working, they could have switched to melee. They have to walk a tightrope, a balance between how much do we want to play nice with Ravensburger and use the app that they want us to use versus how much do we want to maintain tournament integrity. They ended up raffling off a switch to like make up to us that they ended up going with PlayHub, but at the end of the day, it's a decision they could have made.
I also want to say that Ravensburger decided to give 2 cases to the prize pool in order to compensate for the time that was lost.
Sure,
And
but
I think it's really important that it gets tested as well, right? I don't want to show up to Bologna and have the same issues. So if I have to sit there for 2 hours in Margate because they're going to test it out, it's like important for the game.
100%.
For the next 4
Rather
weeks,
be
I hope
here.
everybody tests it as much as possible. We're not playing it this weekend at CCS, but
Yeah, but right now, I know Nathan mentioned this before. I feel like I could sit there and like manually type in every single person's name and it's like do pairings better.
Yeah, you
On an
can't
Excel
do
sheet.
that
Let's
on
just do a
Play-Doh.
printout sheet, and we're just gonna do one of those online things. It spits us out like, yeah.
Those basically simulate Whir, the Wizards event reporter. But all right, that's enough talking about that. We hope PlayHub gets better. Ravensburger, we always want to be on your team. We want you to do good. So now's your time to impress us all with your incredible software. And for what it's worth, it didn't work in Margate.
All right, Jeremy, drama man. What's the next piece of drama?
I think we're like mostly done with drama. I don't have any drama.
Oh, I thought there was one more thing.
I'm good on drama, unless there's something that Nathan's going to pull out of his hat.
I've got no rabbits in my hat. That is post rotation now.
All right, how do you feel,
I
Ryan?
feel pretty good.
We got into Milwaukee. That was
Ooh,
big.
we
That
did
was
get
big.
Milwaukee tickets. Heck yeah,
Wow.
buddy. I'm so
Congratulations.
excited.
Everybody here has a ticket to Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
I do want to say to our listeners, don't give up. As a tip, Braden also shared this on his space, but if you don't get the initial round, about 15 to 20 minutes after the initial like wave goes, people will have it in their cart. Those carts will expire, and then there will be like another dumping of tickets. That is how I got it 20 minutes after they dropped. It was sold out. It said sold out, and I just kept refreshing for 20 minutes, and then eventually it said, oh, there's a ticket, and I clicked it, and I bought it. So always keep trying, especially like you can give up maybe at the 10-minute mark and then come back at 15 or 20 minutes because I was kind of doing some work, and I was like, oh, I'll just try to refresh it, and I was like, oh, cool. So always keep trying. I know we all want to get in, and so that's just a pro tip.
Yeah, solid tip from Braden. All right, that wraps it up.
All right. If you want to find more of us, you can follow us on our respective Twitters. My name is MoxJeremy on Twitter. Zam, where can they find more of you?
You're already here.
Great. And now Nathan and Ryan, say bye to them.
Dang. Bye, everybody. See
Good.
you later.
See ya.
What are you hanging about?